The silence screamed louder than any explosion. Across the known galaxy, trillions held their breath. The invincible Third Fleet of the Draconian Empire, 5,000 warships strong, commanded by the ruthless Admiral Varlag, had entered the Sol system. They were poised to strike the blue planet called Earth, home to the noisy, unpredictable species known as humans. The Draconians broadcast their intentions: unconditional surrender or total annihilation. Humanity predictably refused. Galactic observers watched, expecting a swift, brutal conquest. Earth's defenses were primitive, their ships few. It should have been over in hours. Instead, the Draconian fleet vanished. Not destroyed in a blaze of glory, not routed in a desperate battle. One moment, 5,000 ships, darkening the space near Earth's pale blue outer giant, Neptune. The next moment, nothing. No debris, no energy signatures, no distress calls, just empty space, and the faint, uncaring light of distant stars. The silence stretched, growing heavier with each passing second, then minute, then hour. The galaxy watched, stunned. Fear replaced anticipation. What could make 5,000 Draconian warships disappear without a trace? What power resided in this quiet corner of the galaxy, guarded by these fledgling humans? The Galactic Council convened. Diplomats whispered. Warlords paused their campaigns. Everyone looked towards Earth, and the galaxy demanded answers. Maya Rao shivered. Though the recycled air in the Neptune Deep Space Array control room was kept at a steady, regulated temperature, NADSA wasn't exactly cutting edge anymore. It was more like a dusty attic full of forgotten toys, orbiting Neptune in a lonely vigil. Most deep space sensing had moved to newer, fancier orbital platforms, closer to the Kuiper Belt. NADSA was scheduled for decommissioning next year. Maya was part of the skeleton crew, mostly running diagnostics and preparing systems for shutdown. She was young, barely 23 standard years old, a junior technician more interested in astrophysics theories than practical engineering, which was why she was probably the only one still paying attention to the data feeds from Sensor Cluster 7. Cluster 7 was ancient, using methods long since abandoned, gravitational wave resonance detection. It was temperamental, prone to static and ghosts in the machine. Most people ignored its output, but Maya found it fascinating. It painted a different picture of space, one of subtle ripples and echoes, not just bright energy flashes. When the Draconian fleet arrived near Neptune, all the main sensors were screaming, overloaded with energy signatures and ship telemetry. But Cluster 7 had shown something else. Amidst the roar of the fleet, Maya saw a flicker in its data stream, a ripple, impossibly localized, impossibly quiet, that seemed to swallow the Draconian energy signatures whole. Then, silence. Not just the absence of the Draconians, but a deeper quiet in the resonance field, like a suddenly smooth pond. She saved the data logs, running diagnostics on the sensor. It checked out. Old, yes, but functional. She tried showing her supervisor, a man more interested in his retirement package than galactic events. He waved her off. Ghosts, Maya, Cluster 7 is full of them. Ignore it. Stick to the decommissioning checklists. She tried sending a report up the chain. It probably landed in a spam filter labeled obsolete hardware anomalies. But Maya couldn't ignore it. The galaxy was demanding answers, suspecting Earth had unleashed some terrifying secret weapon. News feeds buzzed with speculation, with fear. Powerful alien species, usually rivals, were united in their suspicion. They couldn't comprehend the fleet just vanishing. It defied known physics. It defied logic. Therefore, it must be human deception. Days turned into weeks. Earth Command insisted they had no such weapon. They pointed to their own primitive technology, their scattered defenses. They sounded genuinely bewildered. Nobody believed them. Ships from the Galactic Council arrived, not in friendship, but in stern judgment. Their flagship, the monolithic vessel Verdict, hung in high Earth orbit, a constant reminder of the galaxy's suspicion. Leading the delegation was Envoy Zalar of the Krell. The Krell were known for their crystalline bodies, their emotionless logic, and their deep distrust of anything that didn't follow predictable patterns. Humans, with their messy emotions and chaotic societies, were particularly baffling to them. Zalar, tall and faceted, shimmering under the station lights, addressed the human representatives with cold precision. Humanity. Zilar's voice resonated, devoid of warmth. The disappearance of the Draconian Third Fleet in your star system is an event without precedent. 5,000 capital ships do not cease to exist. Logic dictates an external force was applied. Your denial of possessing technology capable of such an act is insufficient. The galaxy requires proof, not assertions. Until such proof is provided, Sol system is under quarantine. Your species is under investigation. Provide the truth or the Council will be forced to assume the worst. The human diplomats argued, pleaded, presented data showing their limited capabilities. Zilar remained unmoved. Absence of evidence for your claimed limitations is not evidence of absence of the weapon we suspect. The burden of proof lies with you. Back on Mena DSA, orbiting Neptune far from the diplomatic storm, Maya felt a knot of frustration tighten in her stomach. They were looking for a weapon, a bomb, a laser, a reality-warping device. They weren't looking for a ripple, a quiet swallow, a change. She looked at the Cluster 7 data again, spread across her console screen. It wasn't an explosion. It was more like space itself had hiccuped. What if it wasn't a weapon at all? What if it was just something there? Something only Cluster 7, with its archaic sensitivity, could barely detect. She bypassed her supervisor. She bypassed the usual channels. Using an old, encrypted subspace comm protocol she'd found in the station's historical logs, she sent her data packet directly to a name she vaguely remembered from her university days. Dr. Eris Thorne. He was a theoretical physicist, semi-retired, known for his brilliant but eccentric ideas about space-time topology and resonance phenomena. Ideas most mainstream scientists considered fringe. If anyone would take her data seriously, it might be him. She added a simple message. Dr. Thorne, look at the Cluster 7 resonance data, near Neptune. When the Draconians vanished, it wasn't a weapon. It was something else. Maya Rao, NDSA she hit send. Her heart pounding. It was a long shot. A message in a bottle tossed into an ocean of bureaucracy and disbelief. Days passed. The galactic quarantine tightened. Earth felt the pressure. Trade stopped. Communication lines were monitored. Krell drones patrolled the system's edge. The Lara's demands grew sharper. He wanted inspections, access to military bases, interviews with scientists. Humanity's frustration grew, mixing with fear. On MDSI, the decommissioning schedule continued. Maya felt hopeless. Maybe her supervisor was right. Maybe it was just ghosts in the machine. Then, a reply blinked onto her private console. Encrypted, short. Intriguing ripples, Miss Rao. Very intriguing. Need higher resolution. Can you boost Cluster 7's sensitivity? Eris Thorne. Hope surged through Maya, sharp and bright. He believed her, or at least he was curious. Boost Cluster 7? The old system was barely holding together. Pushing it harder might break it completely. But what choice did she have? Working on it, Dr. Thorne, she replied, her fingers flying across the console. She started digging into the sensor's core programming, looking for ways to reroute power, bypass safety limiters, amplify the resonance detectors beyond their design specs. It was risky. It felt like tuning an ancient violin string tighter and tighter, waiting for it to snap. As she worked, a shadow fell over her console. She looked up. Sergeant Kai Tanaka, the station's chief security officer, stood there. He was young, maybe late 20s, with a stern face and watchful eyes. He'd been assigned by Earth Command to oversee the NDSA decommissioning, but mostly he seemed bored. Now, his eyes weren't bored. They were sharp. What are you doing, Rao? That console is accessing restricted core systems for Cluster 7. That system is flagged non-operational. Maya's heart sank. Caught. I was just running some deep diagnostics, Sergeant. Found some anomalies in the old logs around the time the Draconians disappeared. Kai tilted his head. Anomalies. The official report said all sensors showed nothing significant beyond the fleet's known signatures before they vanished. Cluster 7 isn't like the other sensors, Maya tried to explain, keeping her voice steady. It measures gravitational resonance. It saw something different, a localized disturbance. Kai stared at her for a long moment. Maya expected him to shut her down, report her. Instead, he surprised her. "Show me." Hesitantly, Maya pulled up the logs, displaying the faint ripple pattern against the background noise. She explained what she thought it meant. Not an attack, but an environmental effect. Something inherent to that patch of space near Neptune. Kai listened intently, his usual stern expression replaced by concentration. He wasn't a scientist, but he was smart. He understood tactics, patterns, anomaly. Localized, Kai mused, looking at the data stream, like stepping on a patch of thin ice. Exactly, Maya exclaimed, relieved someone else saw it. And maybe the Draconians, with their huge fleet, their specific energy signatures, maybe they stepped too hard. "An Earth command?" Kai asked. "They ignored this?" "My supervisor dismissed it. My report got lost," Maya admitted. "But I contacted someone, Dr. Eris Thorne. He thinks it's worth investigating. He asked me to boost the sensor's sensitivity." Kai frowned. "Boosting that relic? That's against regulations. It could overload the station's power grid." "I know," Maya said quietly. "But the Krell are strangling Earth. They think we have a superweapon. If this proves otherwise, isn't it worth the risk?" Kai looked from the data screen to Maya's earnest face, then out the viewport towards distant, star-dusted space, where the Draconian fleet used to be. He was a soldier, trained to follow orders, but he was also human, witnessing his planet being unfairly cornered. "Dr. Thorne," he said slowly. "I've heard of him. Brilliant, they say. Bit of a maverick." He tapped a command into his own wrist-mounted device. "All right, Rao, let's see what your ripple looks like when you turn up the volume. I'll authorize the power reroute. But if you blow a fuse that blacks out life support, I'm spacing you myself." He even offered a ghost of a smile. Working together, they carefully bypassed the limiters. Maya rerouted auxiliary power from non-essential systems. Kai stood guard, ready to cut the connection if anything went wrong. The lights in the control room flickered. Warning icons flashed on secondary consoles. The station groaned softly, protesting the unusual power drain. But Cluster 7 came alive. Its sensitivity surged. The resonance data scrolling onto Maya's screen became sharper, clearer. The background noise resolved into intricate patterns, like cosmic background music, and the area where the Draconians vanished. It wasn't just a ripple anymore. It was a void, a spot where the normal resonance of space-time seemed absent, not just quiet, but fundamentally missing, like a hole punched through the fabric of reality. Around the edges of the void, faint, complex resonance patterns echoed. The ghosts, her supervisor mentioned, perhaps, but now clearer, like fading whispers. "What is that?" Kai breathed, staring at the screen. "I don't know," Maya whispered back. "But it's not a weapon. It's a place, a condition of space." A new message alert pinged. Dr. Thorne again. "Incredible. Messerau, you've confirmed it. A localized space-time discontinuity. A resonance null zone, highly unstable, likely triggered by high energy density or specific resonant frequencies. The Draconian fleet signatures, their engine frequencies, their shield harmonics, they might have hit the exact wrong note." Maya typed back frantically. "Triggered how? What happens inside?" "Theoretically," Thorne replied. "Hard to say. Extreme spatial distortion. Temporal effects. Possible translation to elsewhere. Not destruction in the conventional sense. Think of a whirlpool, Miss Rao. The Draconians sailed right into it. Their technology, their sheer mass and energy, might have inadvertently stabilized it or widened it momentarily, consuming them before collapsing back to this near undetectable state. "We need to show this to the Krell," Kai stated, his voice firm. "This is the proof Zillair demanded." "How?" Maya asked. "They won't just take our word for it, or even Dr. Thorne's. They'll call it fabricated data from a broken sensor. Then we show them directly," Kai said, determination hardening his features. "We take a ship. We go out there. We transmit this live data feed right under their crystalline nose." "Go out there?" Maya felt a chill despite herself. "Near that void? Is that safe?" "Probably not," Kai admitted grimly. "But sitting here while Earth gets blamed for something it didn't do isn't safe either. We need a ship." Getting a ship wasn't easy. Nadiase had maintenance shuttles, small and slow, certainly not equipped for navigating potentially hazardous space phenomena. But Kai was resourceful. He found maintenance logs for a long-range survey scout. The Stargazer docked at the station years ago and mothballed due to budget cuts. It was old, dusty, but its core systems were intact. Its sensors were decent, and crucially, it had a robust subspace transmitter capable of broadcasting real-time data streams. While Maya refined the Cluster 7 readings and corresponded with Dr. Thorne, who provided theoretical models and potential frequency triggers, Kai worked tirelessly to bring the Stargazer back online. He cannibalized parts from decommissioned systems, rerouted power conduits, ran endless diagnostics. It took 3 stressful days, filled with near misses and jury-rigged solutions, but finally the Stargazer's engines hummed to life. Dr. Thorne couldn't join them physically. He was earthbound, under Krell surveillance like all key scientists, but he promised to analyze their data feed in real time, providing guidance. "Be careful, Maya, Sergeant Kai." His message read, "This null zone is unknown territory. Approach slowly, monitor the resonance shifts closely. Do not emulate the Draconian energy signatures." Their departure was quiet. Kai logged it as a standard maintenance check on a nearby sensor buoy, slicing through the minimal station protocols. As the small scout ship pulled away from NDSI, Maya looked back at the aging station, her temporary home, floating against the immense backdrop of Neptune's swirling blue clouds. Then she turned her attention to the forward view screen, showing the star-dusted emptiness where they were headed, an emptiness that held a secret terrifying enough to make a Draconian fleet vanish. The journey took several hours, the Stargazer pushing its old engines. Kai piloted with calm precision, while Maya monitored the feed from Cluster 7, relayed from NDSA, and cross-referenced it with the Stargazer's own sensors. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's standard sensors showed nothing unusual, just empty space, littered with faint micrometeoroids and the usual background radiation. But Maya watched the resonance data. The null zone was still there, a silent patch in the cosmic hum. Faint, ephemeral energy readings flickered around its edges, too weak for standard sensors to classify. "We're getting close," Maya reported, her voice tight. "Resonance field is showing fluctuations." "All right," Kai said. "Let's slow down. Keep shields at minimum. We don't want to make any loud noises." He throttled back the engines, letting the ship drift forward on inertia.
"Dr. Thorne?"
Maya transmitted. "We're approaching the perimeter. Cluster 7 shows the null zone clearly. Our local sensors show nothing definitive, just faint energy ghosts." Thorne's reply came back quickly. "Proceed cautiously. Try broadcasting a low-level, wide-spectrum resonance pulse. Nothing directional. Just make a little noise. See if it reacts." Maya configured the ship's modest sensor array to emit a gentle burst of multi-frequency waves. It was like tapping a tuning fork in the dark. The effect was instantaneous and chilling. The null zone on the resonance display seemed to flinch. The hole didn't grow, but the faint energy patterns around its edge pulsed, swirling like disturbed dust motes in a sunbeam. The Stargazer's internal lights flickered. "Whoa," Kai breathed. "Did you feel that?" "Yeah," Maya whispered. A slight vibration. The ship's computer registered a minor spatial distortion field. "It noticed us," Thorne's voice came through the comm. "Interesting. It seems sensitive to broad-spectrum resonance, not just specific frequencies. It's not just listening for a key. It's aware of presence." "Okay," Kai said. "Time to call the Krell. Let them see this." He opened a channel to the Galactic Council delegation aboard the Verdict. "Envoy Zolaire. This is Sergeant Kai Tanaka aboard the Earth Survey Scout, Stargazer. We are transmitting live sensor data from the coordinates where the Draconian fleet disappeared. We urge you to observe." There was a pause. Then Zolaire's cold voice replied, "Sergeant Tanaka, your unauthorized excursion is noted. We are monitoring your transmission. Your standard sensor feed shows nothing but empty space." "Envoy," Maya cut in, trying to keep her voice calm and clear, "please observe the specialized resonance frequency data we are also transmitting. It originates from the Neptune Deep Space Array's sensor cluster 7, cross-referenced with our local readings. On the Verdict's bridge, Zeidelr and his Krell technicians observed the incoming data streams. They saw the standard feed, empty space, Then they switched to the resonance feed Maya was sending. Crystalline brows furrowed, or the Krell equivalent. The data was unlike anything they typically monitored. It showed a clear absence of the expected background space-time resonance in a localized area, bordered by complex, shifting energy patterns. Envoy Zilar, one Krell technician reported. The resonance data appears valid, consistent with the human's older sensor technology. It indicates a localized spatial anomaly, not an energy discharge consistent with weaponry. Zilar considered this. Logic dictated skepticism. Humans were known for trickery. A sensor ghost? A natural phenomenon conveniently located? This proves nothing regarding the fleet's fate, Sergeant. With respect, Envoy Kai countered. We believe the fleet's presence triggered this phenomenon, or amplified it catastrophically. Dr. Aris Thorne has theoretical models suggesting their specific energy signatures resonated with this null zone. Theory, Zilar dismissed. Show us empirical evidence linking the fleet to this anomaly. Maya looked at Kai. How could they prove it without replicating the Draconian signatures, something Thorne had warned against? Then an idea sparked, born of Thorne's comment about the zone reacting to presence to broad-spectrum resonance. Not just energy, but complexity. The Draconians were technologically advanced, but culturally rigid, almost a hive mind. Humans, they were chaotic, unpredictable, emotional. Envoy, Maya said suddenly, leaning towards the comm pickup. The Draconians were uniform, predictable signals. What if this place reacts not just to energy but to complexity, to chaotic signals? Zilar's voice was laced with incredulity.
Complexity? Sergeant, you are suggesting this spatial anomaly reacts to noise, to disorganized information?
Maybe, Maya said, feeling a surge of desperate inspiration. Humans are noisy. Our minds, our emotions, our societies, they're chaotic systems. What if that noise is something this place is sensitive to? What if the sheer hum of human presence in this system, amplified by our fear and defiance when the Draconians arrived, subtly primed this anomaly, and the Draconians, with their rigid energy signatures, hit it at just the wrong moment? Preposterous, Zilar stated flatly. Emotion and chaos are not quantifiable forces that interact with space-time.
Aren't they?
Maya challenged, thinking of quantum entanglement, observer effects, things even human science didn't fully grasp. Let us show you something. We can't replicate the Draconians, but we can show you how it reacts to us. Kai looked at her, catching her drift. He nodded slowly. Envoy, we are going to broadcast a complex wideband signal into the anomaly. Not high energy, just information. Unstructured data, encrypted Earth communication streams, historical audio logs, poetry readings, anything complex and unpredictable we have in the ship's archives. This is illogical, Zilar protested. What do you hope to achieve? An answer, Kai said grimly. Stand by. Maya quickly configured the transmitter. She dumped buffered data streams, old news reports, snippets of music, even pages from her own technical manuals converted to raw data bursts, feeding it all into a chaotic wide-spectrum signal aimed directly at the null zone. It felt absurd, fighting a galactic accusation with poetry and static. As the signal hit the coordinates, the effect was far more dramatic than the gentle pulse before. The null zone on the resonance display didn't just flinch. It seemed to warp. The edges writhed. Strange harmonic echoes pulsed back, washing over the stargazer. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared. Spatial distortion, gravimetric shear. Kai, Maya yelled, gripping her console. Hold on. Kai fought the controls as the ship bucked. Outside the viewport, space itself seemed to shimmer, like heat haze over tarmac. Faint, ghostly lights flickered in the emptiness ahead. Colors Maya had never seen before, shifting and ethereal. On the verdict, the Krell technicians monitored the stargazer's telemetry with growing alarm. Envoy. The human ship is experiencing severe spatial distortion. Their resonance broadcast seems to be actively interacting with the anomaly, another technician added. Receiving energy readings from the anomaly itself now, complex, harmonic patterns, non-threatening, but structured, almost like data. Zilar watched the resonance feed, the swirling patterns around the void, the inexplicable reaction to the human's chaotic signal. Logic warred with observation. What he was seeing was impossible. Space-time didn't react to data. It didn't react to chaos. Yet, it was. "What is that?" Maya gasped, pointing at the main view screen. The shimmering lights were coalescing, forming vague, shifting shapes in the void. Not ships, something else. Images, echoes. Dr. Thorne's voice crackled urgently over the comm, distorted by the interference. "Maya, Kai, the resonance patterns, they're mimicking the complexity of your broadcast. It's like it's learning, reflecting. Be careful. Pull back." Calais reversed thrust, engines straining against the distortion field. The ship slowly retreated from the shimmering boundary. As they pulled away, the effect subsided. The ghostly lights faded. The null zone on the resonance display settled back into its quiet, waiting state. The stargazer was battered, systems flickering, but intact. Silence fell in the cockpit, broken only by the hum of strained machinery and their own ragged breathing. "Envoy Zeller," Kai said, his voice hoarse but steady. "Did you see that? Did your sensors record it?" There was a long pause from the verdict. The Krill bridge was silent. Zeller staring at the data replay. The impossible interaction between chaotic human signals and the fabric of space itself. The resonance patterns the anomaly emitted back, they were complex, almost artistic, illogical. Finally, Zeller spoke, his voice lacking its usual cold certainty. It held a trace of something else. "Confusion? Awe? We," recorded Sergeant Tanaka. "We observed the interaction. The anomaly reacted to your complex data transmission in a manner inconsistent with known physics. It exhibited unpredictable resonance harmonics." He paused again. "This is not the signature of any known weapon." "It's not a weapon, Envoy," Maya said softly. "It's something else. Something that reacts to complexity, to maybe even consciousness or emotion in ways we don't understand. The Draconians, with their rigid fleet formations, their uniform energy signatures, their monolithic mindset, maybe they were fundamentally incompatible with it. Maybe they created a resonance cascade that translated them, sent them somewhere else, changed them." "Changed them?" Zeller echoed. "To what?" "We don't know," Maya admitted. "Maybe those lights, maybe they were echoes, ghosts in the machine." Another long silence from the Krella flagship. The galaxy had been watching, listening to the open channel. Trillions had witnessed the small human scout provoke a reaction from the empty space that had swallowed a fleet. They hadn't seen a weapon fire. They had seen space itself ripple in response to human noise. "The Krell delegation requires time to analyze this data," Zoller said finally, his voice carefully neutral again, but the edge of certainty was gone. "We will consult with the Galactic Council. Your quarantine remains in effect for now, but new evidence has been presented." The connection closed. Kyle let out a long breath, slumping back in his pilot seat. "Think they bought it." "They saw it," Maya said, looking at the resonance display, the quiet void still visible. "They have to reconsider. Logic demands it. Right?" She smiled weakly. News spread like wildfire. The Krail, masters of logic, were baffled. Data from the Stargazer's encounter, including the strange resonance patterns, and the Krail's own sensor logs confirming the interaction, were shared with the Council. Scientists across the galaxy pored over the information. Theories bloomed, some wild, some cautious. But the dominant narrative shifted. Earth didn't have a superweapon. Earth existed near something else. Something fundamental and strange, sensitive to the very nature of complex thought and existence. Humanity, the species considered primitive, chaotic, and overly emotional, was suddenly viewed differently. Their weaknesses, their unpredictability, their messy inner lives, their sheer noisy existence, might be interacting with the universe in ways the older, more rigid species couldn't comprehend. Were humans dangerous? Perhaps. But not because of hidden weapons. They were dangerous because they were different, embodying a chaotic vitality that could apparently make space itself sit up and take notice. Days later, the verdict quietly withdrew from Earth orbit. The quarantine was lifted. Zeller delivered the Council's revised statement. It was brief, acknowledging the existence of an anomalous space-time phenomenon in the Sol system, attributing the Draconian fleet's disappearance to interaction with it, and absolving humanity of hostile action. It didn't offer friendship, but the suspicion was replaced by a profound, unnerving curiosity. Delegations didn't demand inspections anymore. They requested scientific exchange, cautiously asking to study humanity's unique biological resonance and the anomaly near Neptune. Maya Rao found herself an unlikely hero. She was transferred from the decommissioning crew at NDSA to a new research initiative, working alongside Dr. Thorne and scientists from around the world, studying Cluster 7's data and the null zone, now tentatively named the Maya anomaly. Kai Tanaka was promoted, lauded for his quick thinking and courage, assigned to liaise with the new off-world scientific teams interested in Sol's strange corner of space. Life on Earth began to return to normal, but with a subtle shift. Humans looked up at the stars with a new sense of wonder, and perhaps a little apprehension. They hadn't conquered the galaxy with force, but they had shown it something unexpected about life, about consciousness, about the messy, beautiful chaos of being human. They had faced down an empire in galactic suspicion not with weapons, but with poetry and static, proving their unpredictability was not just a flaw, but a fundamental aspect of their power. One evening, Maya was alone in the NDSA control room, now a hub of activity but quiet in the late shift. She was looking at the live feed from Cluster 7, the familiar resonance patterns of the anomaly swirling gently on the screen. It seemed peaceful now, a quiet void in the cosmic symphony. On impulse, she opened a simple audio channel, routing it through the old Stargazer's transmission protocols towards the anomaly. She didn't send data bursts or complex signals. She just spoke, her voice soft in the quiet room. "Hello?" she whispered into the silence, across the vastness of space. "Is anyone there?" For a long moment, there was only the background hum of the station and the steady resonance patterns on her screen. Then, for just a fraction of a second, the patterns around the null zone shifted. A flicker, a complex, harmonious ripple, impossibly brief, impossibly faint. It wasn't data, it wasn't a threat. It felt like acknowledgement. Maya stared at the screen, her heart pounding softly. They hadn't destroyed the Draconians. They hadn't built a weapon. They had simply been themselves, loud and alive and chaotic, next to something ancient and sensitive. And in doing so, they had changed everything. The universe was listening.